All right, everybody, welcome back to the deep dive.
Today we're going to be looking at a really fascinating book,
Okay.
The 4-Hour Body by Tim Ferriss.
Yeah.
And we're going to be looking into all the crazy stuff he suggests for like fitness, dieting, and just life in general.
Lifestyle, yeah.
Yeah, lifestyle optimization is the
Big thing, yeah.
Yeah. So, what are some of the most interesting things you found in the 4-Hour Body that we're going to be talking about today?
I think the thing that kind of sets the tone for the whole book is this idea of like the minimum effective dose, that you can kind of apply that to everything.
Okay.
He's got the slow carb diet, the Occam's protocol, which is his strength training protocol.
Interesting.
He has all sorts of crazy recovery methods.
Okay.
So it's kind of like this overall philosophy of
Right.
how do we get the most with the least amount of effort
That's great.
or the least amount of time investment.
Yeah, and I think that's something everybody can kind of get behind, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, who wants to spend hours and hours in the gym
No.
when you could be, doing something else that you love?
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's start with the diet, okay? Because I think that's kind of like the base for everything, right?
Absolutely.
You got to fuel your body correctly.
Yeah.
So he has this thing called the slow carb diet. And when I first read about it, I was like, this is crazy. Like, it's so different from what everybody else is saying.
It goes against all conventional wisdom. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. So can you explain it a little bit?
Well, so the basic premise of it is that it's not about counting calories.
Okay.
It's about eliminating certain types of carbs,
Okay.
primarily refined carbs and sugars,
Right.
things that cause your blood sugar to spike
Okay.
and then inevitably crash and then store as fat.
So it's like, it's not all carbs are bad.
No, not at all.
It's just those like simple carbs,
Exactly.
like white bread and
Pasta, rice, potatoes, all that stuff.
yeah.
Cut all that out and stick to slow digesting carbs, things like legumes, lentils, beans, and lots of vegetables.
Okay.
And protein.
So what about like fruit? Is fruit okay?
Fruit he's kind of iffy on.
Interesting.
He says that because of the fructose,
Yeah.
some people might react to that
Okay.
negatively, and it might stall their weight loss.
So it's kind of like an experiment with the fruit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about finding what works for you.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
And then the other crazy thing about the slow carb diet is
What?
he has this thing called a cheat day,
Oh, yeah.
which is basically one day a week
Okay.
where you just go nuts.
What? So you can just eat whatever you want.
Whatever you want, pizza, ice cream, anything.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, and the idea behind that is that it actually boosts your metabolism.
Oh, interesting.
Kind of shocks your body out of this like starvation mode
Oh.
and prevents it from plateauing.
Okay.
So it's actually a strategic indulgence.
So it's not just like a free-for-all. It's actually like part of the plan.
Yeah, exactly. It's all calculated.
Okay, so that sounds like the diet I can get behind.
Right.
Like a cheat day I'm in.
Who doesn't love a cheat day?
Okay, so then he talks about the minimum effective dose. And I thought this was really interesting when it came to exercise.
Yeah.
Because he's basically saying, like, you don't need to spend hours in the gym
Right.
to get results.
Right. And this kind of ties back to the Occam's protocol,
Okay.
which is his strength training protocol.
Okay.
And he's all about like finding the minimum amount of stimulus
Okay.
that you need to trigger muscle growth.
So it's like quality over quantity.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Quality over quantity.
Yeah.
So instead of like doing, 3 sets of 10 reps, you might do 1 set
Wow.
to failure with a really heavy weight.
Okay.
And that's it.
Interesting. And then you're done.
And then you're done for the week.
For the week.
Yeah, for that particular exercise.
Okay.
So it's a very minimalist approach.
So how often are you supposed to work out then with this protocol?
So typically he recommends working out twice a week.
Twice a week.
Yeah. And, each workout might only take you like 20 minutes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're someone who's like really busy and doesn't have a lot of time.
Yeah, this is perfect.
This is perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, but what if you can't make it to the gym? What if you're traveling or something?
Well, he talks about that too.
Okay.
He emphasizes the importance of like body weight exercises.
Okay.
Things that you could do anywhere.
Like push-ups?
Like push-ups, squats, lunges.
Okay.
Things that don't require any equipment.
Right.
And he even talks about like using your environment to your advantage.
So like if you're in a hotel room.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You could use a chair.
You could use a chair for dips.
Okay.
You could use the wall for wall sits.
Okay.
So he's all about like getting creative.
I love that.
And finding ways to work out.
Yeah.
No matter where you are.
Yeah.
You know?
That's great. Okay, so now let's talk about endurance because I think endurance.
Yeah. A lot of people are interested in like running marathons or triathlons or just like being able to run for a long time.
Yeah.
And he has this approach, which again, is kind of counterintuitive.
Totally.
He's like, do less to achieve more.
Yeah, he challenges this idea
Yeah.
of like, more is always better
Yeah, yeah.
when it comes to training.
Right.
So he talks about like, instead of doing these long, slow runs,
Uh-huh.
focus on shorter, more intense workouts.
Okay.
And he even talks about like walking.
Really?
Yeah, like walking can be beneficial for endurance.
So it's not all about like running really hard all the time.
No, not at all.
It's about like mixing it up.
It's about mixing it up, yeah, and finding what works for you.
Okay.
And also, like, he talks a lot about form.
Oh, yeah.
Like, running form is really important.
Like how you run.
Exactly how you run, how you breathe.
Okay.
He talks about this breathing technique called the 2 in, 2 out method.
Interesting. Okay, so like 2 steps in.
Yeah, so you inhale for 2 steps.
Okay.
Exhale for 2 steps.
Okay.
And it helps regulate your breathing.
Yep.
And prevent you from getting out of breath too quickly.
Gotcha. And what about fueling your body during these long runs?
Yeah, so he talks about using a combination of glucose and fructose.
Okay.
Which is interesting because most people just rely on glucose.
Uh-huh.
But he found that by adding fructose,
okay,
it actually helps your body absorb the glucose more efficiently.
Interesting. Okay.
So you can actually run for longer.
Wow.
Without hitting the wall.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so then he gets into this whole thing about recovery, which I think is really important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because a lot of people, they just focus on like working out really hard, and then they don't take the time to recover.
And that's when you get injured.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you just burn out.
Yeah, so he has some like really interesting and kind of crazy recovery methods.
Yeah, he does.
Like, what's the one that stands out to you the most?
I mean, he's a big proponent of cold exposure.
Cold exposure.
Yeah, like ice baths.
Ice baths.
Cold showers.
Oh my God, I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah, it takes some getting used to.
But he's saying that helps with recovery.
Yeah, the idea is that it reduces inflammation.
Okay.
And helps your muscles recover faster.
Okay.
And he also talks about heat therapy.
Okay.
Like saunas.
Oh, saunas are nice.
Yeah, saunas are much more enjoyable.
Okay.
But the idea is that it improves circulation.
Okay.
And helps you relax.
Right.
Which is also important for recovery.
So it's like a balance of like hot and cold.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he also talks about sleep.
Sleep, yeah.
Which is so important for like everything.
Absolutely.
But especially recovery.
Yeah.
So what are some of his sleep hacks?
So he's all about like optimizing your sleep environment.
Okay.
So things like blackout curtains.
Okay.
Making sure the room is cool and dark and quiet.
Yeah.
And then he also talks about like establishing a consistent sleep schedule.
Right.
So going to bed and waking up at the same time every day.
Even on the weekends.
Even on the weekends, yeah.
That's tough.
It's tough. But he says it's worth it.
Okay.
And then he even gets into like polyphasic sleep.
Polyphasic sleep.
Which is basically taking multiple naps.
Okay.
Throughout the day.
Interesting.
Instead of like one long sleep at night.
Okay. And he says that can help you like get more done.
Yeah. The idea is that you can reduce your overall sleep time. And have more hours in the day.
Wow, that sounds kind of crazy.
It is pretty crazy.
I don't know if I could do that.
Not for everyone.
Yeah.
But,
But it's interesting. It's an interesting concept.
Yeah. And then finally, he talks about this whole thing about lifestyle optimization.
Yeah.
Which I think is really important because it's not just about, like, your physical health.
Right.
It's about, like, your mental health.
Your productivity.
Yeah, your productivity, your overall well-being.
Your happiness, yeah.
Yeah. So how does he suggest, like, optimizing your life?
Well, he talks a lot about like setting clear goals.
And then prioritizing those goals. And then figuring out like what are the most important tasks that you need to do to achieve those goals.
Okay.
And then he talks about like automating as much as possible.
Oh, yeah.
So like finding ways to delegate tasks.
Okay.
Or to use technology to automate things.
Right.
So that you can free up your time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And focus on the things that are really important.
So it's all about like working smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Working smarter, not harder.
Yeah. Okay. So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
It's a really fascinating book.
It is.
I mean, I think there's something in there for everyone.
Definitely.
Even if you're not like a fitness fanatic.
Yeah, even if you're just looking to like improve your life in some way.
Yeah.
There's definitely something in there for you.
So what do you think? What's like the one thing that people should take away from this book?
That's a tough one.
I know there's so much.
I mean, I think the biggest takeaway is that you should always be questioning.
Questioning?
Yeah, questioning conventional wisdom.
Okay.
And experimenting.
Experimenting, yeah.
Finding what works for you.
So it's not about like following a set of rules.
Yeah.
It's about like figuring out what works for you.
Exactly.
And your body.
Your body,
Yeah.
your lifestyle.
Yeah. Okay, so for you listening out there,
I want you to think about, like, what's the one thing?
from the 4-hour body that you're going to try.
Is it the slow-carb diet?
Is it the minimum effective dose?
Is it some of the crazy recovery methods?
Like, go out there and experiment and see what works for you.
Because that's what Tim Ferriss is all about.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.